and welcome to the JoyRide Show.
Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us for another JoyRide. We are sharing a mic today. We've had a few techie issues, and we're all cozy here. This is just how I like it.
Yes.
So we're sharing a mic today, and this is another just...
No, we're not going to say this is another great show, and we're so excited. We say that every single week.
But this is a great show, and we're so excited.
But this show is cloaked in mystery, and we have our guest on the phone to sort of keep his identity a little bit concealed. When you hear his story, you will understand why. He is a badass. So, that is the great way to start it. But I do have to address one thing. I want to address one thing. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I speak around my words. And my brain goes so fast, and I stutter. And as everything's going, I am trying to figure out what words will come out or what words won't. And so sometimes I talk around my words, or I get disjointed. And I had a comment, and it wasn't very nice. And I know that it's their stuff, not mine. And I came home, and I was talking to my mom, and I was like, not came home, but I was at my mom's house. And I said, it just like hurts my feelings. She said, oh, honey, I think it's really brain damage. She said, I almost died when I was born. So I was in this incubator for 2 weeks. And she really thinks that's why. I'm like, brain damage? That's supposed to make me feel better? So anyway,
you don't have brain damage, honey.
Maybe I do.
And I am so incredibly proud of you that you have come on here and we've created this show. And even with a stutter and something that you feel like it's hard to speak sometimes, we're doing it anyway.
Well, thank
you.
Beautifully.
And we walk around, talk around the words, and you get your point across, and you do it beautifully.
Well, I like to write better.
I want to hear what you say.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
Let's get to the badass. I mean, this guy. Oh, I'm not supposed to bang. I'm not supposed to bang on things. Sorry about that. Okay, so. All right, I'm gonna go there. So we met our guest through another one of our fabulous metaphysical moms, and his story was just incredible, and it's unfolding as we speak. And there's so much to this. Just when you think you're done with the story, there's like another 5 chapters. And okay, so I'm just going to create the arc, or just create the outline. Think Rambo. Think badass military. And our guest, he broke his back 3 times. He was sort of going through this whole my body's falling apart. And guess what? He was hit by lightning, and basically cured. And he has the slides and the MRIs. He has everything to back all of this up. And then it's what he's doing with it and these incredible downloads and what he sees and who he's in contact with. And I mean, we're going from complete soldier, warrior, 3D to a man that is bringing all these skills in and using them for all of us to go to the next place. And it makes me cry. I mean, this is such a phenomenal man. So
without further ado, we would like to welcome, we are Skyping with Mitch. Hi, you guys can hear Mitch, but we get to see him so we can have a conversation. We're so excited that you've joined us. It's early where you are up on the Northwest Coast. Thank you for joining us on JoyRide to tell your story. I can't wait to hear it.
Hey guys, I can actually say for the first time with love and light, I greet you all.
With love and light, we greet you too.
You're out of the closet.
So this is new for you. This is a relatively new experience. I think you said a couple years ago. You went and you've done a 180. Like you said, you've said you were a knuckle dragging ape of a mercenary kind of guy, and that you have
something like that. Yeah.
And I would not call you that, but I think that's what you said yesterday when we chatted. And you have now gone to just like amazing spiritual path, downloads, seeing the light, and doing all of this work for good. So where do we jump in?
You know where I'd like to jump in? Well, actually, we should ask you where you want to jump in. But let's give them a little bit of background and just sort of where you started. I mean, anyway, just go. Where do you want to start?
I don't know. We wanted to do the overview, so I guess, getting hit by lightning, I was a gun-toting knuckle dragger, and anybody in the military is going to identify with that. And then did I spent my life in the military, got hurt, was retired, and then the war broke out and ended up with a private military company doing bodyguard work for ambassadors, going through the, teammates getting killed and being involved with car bombs and traumatic brain injuries and being shot and stuff like that, and breaking your back again. So I was that guy, just really gung-ho, living that lifestyle, programmed in that way, in that lifestyle. And then that's about 10 lifetimes on your body, basically, when you live that lifestyle. So your body is basically, when you say, I retired early, it's banged up. And then along comes a rainy day, and where I live here, and getting groceries in the driveway, and my wife's coming out in the garage, and basically I was getting the groceries, and the truck door was open, and I got thrown into the garage by the biggest bomb that I thought I got hit by ever. And my life changed from there. My wife starts screaming, and she's trying to put me out like I'm on fire. And, my whole world, go ahead.
No, how can you, I mean, I never have met in my life another person who's literally been struck by lightning. Can you describe, do you remember anything about the actual experience of it?
Yeah, I remember everything. I didn't actually lose consciousness. I've been in and around explosions and bombs, and it's basically like if you've ever about to pass out and your hearing starts to go and you start having tunnel vision and your head squeezing in.
Yeah.
So it's a pressure wave that changes your whole perspective of what you're seeing, hearing, and feeling. All those things go away. So when you're laying on the ground, I guess I was screaming like a little girl.
You have permission to scream like a little girl and get hit by lightning.
We won't judge you.
I was screaming like a little girl and shaking real bad from what my wife says, and smoking, which would have been the steam coming off my skin.
Oh my God.
I wasn't smoking literally. I was
Steaming.
You're
steaming.
I have a little Filipino wife, so to her I was smoking.
Now,
So,
was there an entry point? I mean, did it hit your head?
through my chest.
It hit your
Through my
chest?
It hit your chest?
From the back forward, from what we understand now. Yeah. So it wasn't a direct, it was more of a,
It grazed you. And so basically, is there like an entry point? You had a Kundalini awakening from the top down.
Yeah.
Holy
basically.
smokes, right at the spine.
Literally, holy smokes. But it
So
is.
we don't really know the entry point and the exit point. It's not apparent. It's kind of not like getting hit on the crown of the head and having a burn mark. So because I've had a chance to talk to mediums, we have a better understanding of what happened metaphysically than your basic lightning strike. I don't think it was a basic lightning strike. No, it was a little different than that.
Yeah, you're typical.
It's not your typical lightning strike.
Okay, so you're on the ground. Your wife
typical.
puts you out from smoking, steaming, and what happens in the moments after a lightning strike?
I think interpretation and assimilation is trying to figure out what's going on, and not going back outside to get the groceries.
Right.
Did you call 911? I mean, did she rush you to the
No.
hospital?
No,
No?
none of that happened. Nope.
God, we're such pansies. I would have
I'm
thrown
not
my
one of
husband's
those.
ass in the car.
Yeah. No, I'm not one of those guys that just rushes off to the ER. I did a self-check, basically a military self-check. I checked myself out, and I just went with it just like if I was in combat.
It's 1953.
Oh
Let's
my
see.
gosh.
I have 5 toes on both feet.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good to go.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's called a self-check, basically, medical self-check. You just check yourself out, make sure you're not split wide open, and control the breathing, the bleeding, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so physically you were intact, but you said everything changed after that. So tell us.
Everything changed within a couple months. It was apparent that things are starting to change. Within a couple months, I've got a LED cat toy that started basically talking to us. When it moves, an LED light start flickering for cat toys.
Yeah.
When the cat plays with it, well, that thing was sitting on top of a chest of drawers in the front room, and it basically went off. And we're already spiritually aligned because of my wife, angels and things like that. She's intuitive and empathic, and so is my daughter. So basically, this thing lit off, and we went, okay, well, maybe we had an earthquake. And then lit off again, and I moved it and said, "No way, everybody be quiet," because my daughter and my wife are sitting there staring at it with their eyes bugged out. And I put it on the ground, and I said, if there's somebody here that would like to talk to us, please make the light flash. And it lit off, and it commenced to answer questions it answered the questions with yes, light, or no, don't light, basically. So there's a little, poltergeist phenomenon. And then for some reason, I started feeling like I didn't want to be on these medications. And that story right alone is that I was taking over 30 pills a day through the VA system. I'm 100% permanent and totally disabled from my service time, permanently, with special circumstances due to be injured in combat and medically evac'd out of South America. So because of that, they put a higher level of disability on you because you're really screwed up. You're not just screwed up, but you're really screwed up. So you're probably not going to ever work again, type thing. My body started telling me things that there was no more room for darkness in my life. And when there's more light than darkness, then the healing can begin. And I was a very service to self-oriented individual. And from that point on, I started taking myself off of medications by titration with a little help from a pharmacist, female that I know. And I was on 300 milligrams of morphine and 7.5 Vicodins a day for 15 years.
Holy cow.
What?
For 15 years?
Yeah, 15 years, yeah.
And you started weaning yourself off of all these pain medications. And how was that experience?
Pain meds.
Yeah.
It was very difficult. Go ahead.
Can I?
You had a question?
Eyebrows raised, mouth open. That's a joke from last night.
Yeah.
I don't know that we really talked about this, and I just assume this is the case. PTSD, pretty strong?
Yeah, severe. Yeah, that was a primary, one of my primary diagnoses that led to the 100% was it was pretty severe. It was extremely severe.
So you had said that you were also agoraphobic?
Agoraphobic. So kind of a short list of, I had pages and pages of diagnoses with major and minor diagnoses. Basically anything that happens 3 or more times in the military where you see a doctor for, they can give you a diagnosis, rate it, and give you a percentage of disability. So for me, some of the top ones was severe osteoporosis that came up recently before the lightning strike, osteoarthritis, fibromyalgia, folliculitis, bilateral patellofemoral syndrome, degenerative bone and joint disease. Those are the major ones with the PTSD. And just a whole bunch of other ones that are like internal medicine type things.
The list of what you don't have might be shorter. Yeah.
So
yeah,
they didn't really want to
Yeah.
heal you. They just medicated
They
you.
medicated the
just
pain,
zoned
right?
you out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the way the VA works. They just hand out medication, right? And when you get to taking, over a span of a 24-hour period, you've taken about 30 medications, 30 pills a day. Wow. You basically, your blood is goo, and you're just poison. You're toxic. Your body's toxic. And I've always been physically oriented and very gung-ho as far as physical fitness. And I knew that I hated that, but I needed some relief as far as what was going on in my body.
Sure.
And I was programmed to follow directions and orders and take these pills. Right. And basically I decided I didn't want to be on those anymore. And now I know why. Through a medium, Jamie Butler helped me with this, but it all happened with the lightning strike and the reorientation of the chakra system and the enlightening, or the kundalini, or whatever we want to call it. And from there over, it took me over a year to really wean off of the pain medications, the psych medications. Those were the longest and the hardest, just because I was afraid to be who I used to be. I didn't want to be who I used to be. And the pain meds, even though you're not high on the pain meds, what it does to your body, morphine creates more receptors in your brain. The more you take it, the more it creates more receptors, which makes you want it more, which reason why you have to keep raising it to where it is.
So its efficacy.
So within the first year, I was off of everything except for the psych meds and the thyroid medication and the pain meds. And then within about 6 months ago, I'm totally off of everything, all medications.
Are you serious?
everything, every medication except for natural supplements.
Okay,
Mitch,
even the
that's
thyroid?
huge.
I've been told
Even
I'll
the
never get
thyroid.
off thyroid.
Okay, now
And
you
that's
also
what they
had
want you to believe.
all this osteoarthritis and bone
Acute.
degeneration, and you had MRIs and scans, and you have
Yep.
medical imaging to prove what it
You ready?
was.
Tell that story. I love that story.
Tell it. Drum roll.
Okay. So probably a few months before the lightning strike, I was diagnosed at 52 years old with acute osteoporosis through a bone density scan, which followed an MRI, which followed the x-rays. So while checking out my other two broken backs and minor fractures of the C-spine, they saw that one of my vertebrae, T11, collapsed into a V. Actual vertebrae, not the disc, but the vertebrae collapsed. So they were in shock and said, you need to get an MRI right away. Your vertebrae has collapsed. And I went, okay, I didn't know that. I can't feel it. I'm always in pain and numbed. So I went to the bone density scan. They said, you have acute osteoporosis. And the only way that a man generally gets osteoporosis at my age is if I was subjected to depleted uranium, chemical weapons, lead, and anti-foliage agents, which is Agent Orange type. And I have all four of those.
So
That's a whole other topic
just
because
the
I would love to
exposure.
talk about
yeah,
that.
just
but
the exposure
oh my
that
God.
you had to sustain.
Yeah.
Okay, so now.
So then,
Okay, so the next thing that happens is I get hit by lightning, and I start having an enlightenment or an awakenment of spiritual things happening, and I'm becoming aware of the grass is greener, the skies are no longer chemtrail, they're all blue, sort of like a new Earth experience. There was if there's two Earths, I'm seeing the new Earth experience. I'm seeing the bluer skies with no chemtrails. I'm checking with my brother, and he says, yeah, I'm not seeing chemtrails either. And I said, what is going on? But other people are seeing chemtrails. So everything is bluer and brighter, and I start doing more investigatory work, and I realize that something's happening. And I start coming off these medications. I'm starting to meditate. I'm using crystals. I'm seeking out healers. I'm seeking out mediums. I'm getting more information. And with that, it led me to get a second bone density scan. And I'm telling my doctor, who's a devout Christian who doesn't believe in life anywhere other than here on this planet, that I've had this experience, and is looking at me going, sure, okay, right. So, yeah, we'll get you over to the bone density thing. And I told my story to the bone density radiologist lady, and I said, what we're about to do, if I think what's going to happen is going to happen, we're both going to cry, because I got a feeling that I'm no longer osteoporosist. I know, or osteoarthritis, or porosis. Okay, so I get on the table. They do the bone density scan. She's not the radiologist that reads it, but she knows what the numbers mean. You know, that she's just the nurse that performs the task. Okay, so she looks at the numbers, and it's gone. The osteoporosis is gone, and she started to cry before she told me. She's a believer, so I just went, okay. Now we're both crying. I said, I knew it. I mean, chills, spine, I just knew it. So I totally was healed. My spine was put back to where it was supposed to be, and I have this on film.
So
yeah,
it's
I've
no
got
longer
The
collapsed?
collapsed vertebrae has been rebuilt.
It's been repaired. Yeah.
It's been repaired. Without any
It's been
surgical
repaired.
intervention, it just repaired itself.
None.
And how long is
Right.
this after the lightning strike?
Probably 6 months.
Okay, so this is relatively, I mean, I think you have an anniversary coming up, you said, this month, and it's only been 2 years, right?
Yeah, December 18th would be the day of the strike, December 18th, 2015. This is my first, because I've lost everyone else around me telling them this story, my friends that I used to have, I basically haven't talked to anybody about this. I found myself, I'm in the hermit stage of the awakening is what I found out. And everything was so overwhelming. There's an assimilation process that you need to have to assimilate all this data. And for me, I'm just now calm. I was on the roller coaster for the first year, and I had to tell everybody, and I couldn't shut up. And then, of course, there's no one else to tell now because there's no one in my life anymore.
Well, we're welcoming you to a huge spiritual family
You
here.
are in the tribe,
who
man.
are all having their own experiences, who believe you and who want to hear your story and are excited about using everything you've gone through to move forward.
Well,
and that's where I want to go with this.
I do too, but I want to ask, because we both have incredibly supportive husbands that aren't necessarily on the path. They're
Right.
kind of our support team. How is your wife with all of this? I mean, that's a big change.
My wife is a devout Asian Catholic. So that is an interesting melting pot of beliefs. And my daughter was an atheist, a millennial atheist. And she's not really that anymore after
watching
what
you.
she's seen.
Yeah.
Right. She's watched it. They both have. And they aren't on board, but they love me for what's happened to me. You know, they're accepting of what's happened to me.
Right.
I think inside they just are so programmed to not believe this stuff that that they understand that there's something spiritual going on, something fantastic has happened. You can't deny that when it happens in front of your eyeballs.
Right.
You know, when you're. So my wife is about the angels and Jesus and Mother Mary and the Catholic thing, the Catholic programming, and I am without a doubt 100% certain, because of what's happened to me, that there's life and there's multidimensional beings, and how we got here in this whole, you know, the vessel and the mind and the brain thing. You know, you have the brain, which houses the mind. You have the vessel, which houses the soul. I'm awake, man. So I'm 180 degrees out from the knuckle dragon, gun-toting dude that I was.
Well, we talk about sometimes you have to get hit by that spiritual 2x4, and we were saying last night you had to get struck by that spiritual bolt of lightning to really you said realign your chakras. So you're into understanding your own energy now and your power. Can you speak a little bit about, you said you talked to Jamie Butler, who most people watching us know Jamie's an amazing medium.
Yeah.
And who was it that came through for you? Because it's such a cool story.
Okay, so before we even do that, let's talk about synchronicities. And since this thing, you know, I told you I have 596 books on my Kindle, and that doesn't even account for the 1,000 books I have on the walls surrounding me right now.
Spiritual books, trying to understand what's going on, right?
Yeah, trying to understand what's going on. And Dolores Cannon, Michael Newman, Ruth Montgomery, the Raw series, Dawn Elkins, and the Ruckert. I think of Julia Ruckert or whatever her name is, I think. So, and Thoth and the Sitchin books and all that stuff, trying to figure out what's going on. And I've had a great love for Hawaii, and Hawaii, from what I understand, is what's left of Lemuria, and the Azores and stuff like that is what's left of Atlantis. These are tips and the tops of these what's left. And I completely understand what happened to Atlantis. So I'm sorry, I lost my track.
You wanted to go back to...
You were talking about synchronicities.
There you go. Synchronicities. Okay. So when I started looking into all this stuff, I knew I wanted to talk to a medium. I've always really dug that. You know, they had the Long Island medium in the beginning. I didn't really like her style, but I get it. I said, okay, I want to talk to a medium. And I had talked to other people, and they said, well, if you could just dial 1-800-PSYCHIC and get right onto them, they're probably not going to be worth their salt. You know, okay, so if you have to wait a long period of time and pay a large sum of money to talk to a medium, they're probably worth their salt. They're worth their beans, what they're doing. So I had to wait 8 months and pay
a lot of money.
You know, not really a lot. You know, I was treated well, but I started looking on YouTube and I ran across the channeling Eric thing, and I watched that whole series with Elise Medow and Eric. And it was Jamie Butler, and she's an evidentiary medium out of Georgia. And I looked her up and found out I could get with her, but it was going to take 8 months to do it. So in that 8-month process, there was a whole bunch of self-learning going on, and I was really ready by the time there to find out what's going on. So I get with Jamie Butler, I get on there, and the first dude that walks, I mean, I've got a spirit team, she says, that, you know, she knew right away that I was in the military. The guys that I had lost in my team had stepped forward and saluted and thanked me for everything that I had to that I did for them at the time. And but the first, other than person that I knew, was this Incan warrior called Apu Yapo.
How do you spell that?
And APU is Apu for the Apunians of the Sirius constellation. My understanding is Apu was the planet Tiamat in the Bible, and it blew up and became the asteroid belt, one of the parts of the asteroid belt. So the Incan warrior Apu Yapo, the Apu Yapo is a mountain in the Andes of Peru, and the Incan people, or the upper indigenous people of Peru, pray to him for thunder and lightning, rain, weather.
There's your lightning god. He said you're welcome.
So there's my, we're not talking gods here. In the Greek form, we can talk gods, but these are multidimensional, interdimensional beings. Yeah. They're transitionally wise, dimensionally wise. They're still with us right now, but in a dimension that is not visible through us. So he's there, and a bunch of other people. Go ahead.
Explain
I saw
that.
The eyebrows.
I know the eyebrows and the mouth. Explain that, because I love the way you said that last night. Because I've often said, how do we know they're not just right here with us, but they vibrate at such a different rate?
You're talking about
the
propeller. Yeah.
Okay, so the way that I have to do things, I have to give an analogy so that my ape brain can understand how this works. So
let's change that. I don't like the ape brain.
Okay,
it's a beautiful brain.
we've already
we've
kind of changed that. It's kind of changed. Yes, it's been changed.
Yes.
Okay, so the vibration thing for people that want to understand how this works, and if you have a fan at home when you're really hot, you're spinning it on the low speed. Everything on cycles is called a cycle of hertz. I unfortunately got more training than is good for me. So electronically, a hertz is a complete cycle. It's a waveform, which is a vibration of light as well. So light and physical spinning is a circle of hertz or cycles, which equates into vibration. So as a fan spins slow, you can see each blade. When you spin a fan at the highest speed, you can see right through it. You can visually see right through a fan when it's spinning at its highest speed. That is why we can't see them, because they're vibrating at a speed that is above what our visual concepts can see. Just like the light spectrum that we can see, they're beyond the light spectrum that we visually can see through our rods and cones in our eyes. Why did dogs and cats are able to see them? Because their visual spectrum of light is beyond our spectrum of visual concepts and our abilities. So vibration-wise, they're spinning faster, and so are their ships, and that's why we can't see them. When they're inside the mountains of Shasta, or there's bases in the Andes where I told you about the Apu, they're spinning in a dimensional frequency that we are not able to see them, and that's how they move in and out. They pop in and out to show us that they're here, and they pop back, and they're here right now.
Yeah,
we believe you. Yeah.
So that's, I think, what happened with over at the
SETI Ranch.
SETI Ranch, and recently they said, I think it was last week, they had this ship that was 13 miles away, and the lumens it put off, and it just sat there, and was almost like a bunch of them gathered up. Anyway, if you guys go to YouTube to the SETI James's Ranch, and I mean the activity going on right now.
And the video cameras can pick it up. The night vision video cameras can pick up this vibration.
13
Our eyes
miles away.
Couldn't see it, but
yeah. Okay.
And the full spectrum cameras can see them because they're vibrating in a light frequency that they can pick up.
So can we go back to Jamie? And you've had this reading. You've got this multidimensional being of lightning coming in to say hello, part of your team. What do you make of that when you're hearing all that for the first time?
Crying.
Does it feel like truth?
Crying, emotional. Oh, absolutely. It resonated with me completely because of past experiences. I have a past life as a Valkyrie princess. That Valkyries are they go to the battlefield and they select the souls that'll be taken to Odin. And I'm over-educated in the medical field, and I've been saving people's lives in car crashes and on the battlefield for years, ever since I was 16 years old. I'm the first person I dragged out of a burning car. It made sense. Everything made sense.
You were saying you have this ability to, and not just through your training, but just your demeanor, have this ability to remain calm under intense pressure. and help people understand what needs to be done instead of just spinning off and running around with your head cut off,
Right.
You have this ability to do what needs to be done in the midst of chaos.
Yeah, in the midst of chaos, there's usually chickens running around with their heads cut off, kind of like we call them flaming alphas, which is people on fire running around screaming, "Ah!" They're just kind of going nuts. And somebody needs to be calm in the midst of chaos. And when you're trained at the level that they train us at, when shit starts going off all around you, you need to be able to keep your shit wired tight, keep your head on straight, and be able to react to contact and whatever you're doing. And I believe that as we get further into this, that people's faith is going to be rocked. And the people that came through, the entities that came through Jamie Butler, they were telling me that each one has a specific purpose, and that is one of them, the white celestial being that showed up, which I, of course, didn't know anything about what an Apu was, or a white celestial being, or the tall white, or, I had some ideas of what these were, but now I understand completely. They're helping me deliver the speed and accuracy of the information, and my purpose here, in relation to your question, is to be able to prepare the lands of the mind for their return. They're already here, but they're physical showing. Mm-hmm. So when they physically show themselves some more, and we actually have physical contact in some sort of way, that people like myself are going to need to be able to help other people understand that the Christians, these are not demons. The way that works, that I'm not talking down on them, but they're so programmed to believe that anything that's not Jesus is demons. And I live with one of them, so I understand that, and I have to be very careful with that. But it's going to be very important that people like myself and yourself and your program help deliver information that is clear, concise, and well articulated and based upon evidentiary data, so that people can try to stop have their head spinning on their torso and calm down, and to help organize and help them through a period of time that's going to be very difficult for them, because their belief system is going to be rocked.
So you're talking about the new earth, or you're talking about what we've all heard is coming down the pike, whether it's in a year, or 6 years, 2 months, whenever.
Right.
Yeah, because we've had all this time to kind of gather slowly, follow the little seeds in front of us, and if that does happen, then it's just overnight, and people's worlds will be completely
mantled.
Thank you. Yes, and so.
Oh, it's happening now. The new Earth transition is happening now, and there is a harvest of the dark that's happening right now with all the different stuff we see politically happening. I firmly believe 110% that we're in a transitional period. It won't be an Armageddon bang. It's not going to be a bomb going off. It's a slow transition, because they know that we are not going to be able to handle that. So it has to be over a period of time, with information coming out slowly, with like a soft disclosure to a full disclosure, and them showing up periodically around the world. I mean, we have evidence of the new Earth. That's, we have volcanoes going off, I think 4 or 5 within the past 3 or 4 months. We have massive storms in the Houston area. We have massive storms that are acting very strange and very peculiar. And it is all about the Earth basically shitting off what it doesn't like. We're destroying her. She's checked out. And it's a transition to the new Earth, basically. But before there can be calm, there must be chaos. And I don't mean that in a fear way. I mean that as a way of saying there's a transitional period, the dark is going to fight back.
We keep saying your experience is going to depend on where you vibrate with it.
Right.
So depending on how much anger, frustration, ego, greed, all of the lower vibrations you are aligned with, is how difficult it's going to be to transition into a lighter, more loving, spiritual unity, community type based new Earth. So our work to make it easier is to just spread the message of love. Don't fear this. Go with it. And let go of all those old bad paradigms and habits. But I love that your whole skill set that you learned and that you've been trained for and that you're prepared for is now being all used. There's none of that was wasted. It's not like your prior life. I know it feels like it, but it's perfect for what we're going to be needing here in the coming years.
I think there's going to be some definite room for organizational requirements when it comes to helping people. Even in the Houston area where you guys are at, there was a disaster where people like me came from all over the place to come in and help organize communication, distribution, logistics, security. All that had to happen. It's just that I'm not in that area. And if I was a little younger, I'd be already in that area with a company, with a private company, depending on who was had that contract for that area. They're in Puerto Rico. People just like me are in Puerto Rico, supplying logistics and security and communication, rebuilding there.
Because it stops the chaos when people have their basic needs
I see your
met.
eyebrows.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We said that's how we know we're going to talk. We're like, oh, but I want to get in there.
Well, no, I actually heard this guy last night, and he was saying that that's exactly what's happening there. And I think in some way, I think it's really great because the infrastructure is being built up to date. The phone lines, the internet, everything. And so, maybe that's really a good thing. But let's go back to the synchronicities. So, because this does wrap up to how we found you, or you found us. So I love that.
Thanks for helping me get back to that. I appreciate it. So, by going to Jamie Butler, I found out about Lisa Medow and her son, Eric, that tragedy. But through Jamie Butler, I realized that I found my way to Dolores Cannon, and Dolores Cannon has the QHHT, Quantum Hypnosis Healing Therapy, and I wanted to discover that because I have read all of her books, and Michael Newman is also a QHHT practitioner, and read Ruth Montgomery's Contact Stories. So between those three authors, I realized that I need more information. I'm just impatient. I want to know what I'm going to be doing, and let's get it on. I'm kind of a type A plus personality, and I'm ready to kind of go get it. And because of that, I want to know now. Just a quick note that Jamie Butler did say that the entities came forward and said that they would be contacting me in May or June of this year. And basically that was when all the ringing in my ear started, the Morse code. And I didn't understand. I thought they were going to start talking to me. It's like, yo, dude, you're going to start talking to me. No, that didn't happen. It was the ringing, the different ringing in the ear. And no, this is not tinnitus. And no, this is not some sort of microwave interference from my telephonic communication device. No, it is not. This is straight up different tones, answering questions, ringing on one side, transitioning to the other. So there's my downloads. There's the things that happen with that. But the synchronicity that we're speaking of straight up is that I found a QHHT practitioner in Portland by the name of Allison Coe.
We love Allison.
Allison Coe. Okay, Allison Coe lives on a street name that I'm not going to name for her own security, but her street name and her last name is the name of my best friend in elementary school.
Really?
If you put her street name and her last name together, is the name of a best friend of mine. So that's a synchronicity right there.
Sure.
And then, so through her, she contacted this nutty lady here.
That would
Kerry
be me.
Walker.
Yes.
This crazy chick, man. Emanating the female half of my nutty self. And then Allison Coe, we meet, and she says, you're like the male version of me. So we're very similar. And somehow she contacts Kerry, and Kerry's with you, the metaphysical mom, Tiff, and you guys are doing this show. And then Kerry contacts me, and then I find out she lives down the street from Elisa Medow in Houston.
Right.
So
yeah, we hang out with Elisa often. She's our buddy.
Do you see how all of that? And then last week we had we've not aired the show yet, but last week we had
Julia Cannon, Dolores'
QHHT.
daughter.
She was on the show. So it's almost like in a sense you've come home.
We found each other.
It's like you found. And I actually sent you a text, and I felt kind of funny about it afterwards. After we talked the first time we spoke, we talked for a long time. I love to talk. And so
nobody talks for a short time with you.
Well, I was thinking it was you actually, but hey. So we talk, and I get off the phone and I sent him a text, and I said, it's like I feel safer just knowing you're in the tribe. You just emanate, you exude this badass. It's gonna be okay. We got it. You just do what you have to do, and I love peace. I love kindness. But also there's a yang to your yin. There's this fire, and you are so ready to go and just get on with it. Yeah, exactly. And so
the thing that I want to emphasize right now and here that I am straight up I was straight up ego, service to self, materialistic, drag racing, in charge of everything, control of all. I want to make this perfectly clear to your listeners that I am not coming on this show. This has nothing to do with ego. This is not, I am not the miracle man. I'm just a dude that's had an extraordinary experience, and it's meant to happen. It's happened to a lot of other people. Your awakening happens in whatever method is required. I was on the karmic wheel. I get it. I know now that I am one of the 3 waves of volunteers, and I understand that. And if I hadn't got off of that cycle of service to self, that I was not going to be able to complete my mission, and it required a brick to the face in the form of lightning to be able to wake me up enough to get there, to get started on what I need to do, because we're obviously in the midst. We're in it right now. This is no doubt. There is no doubt in my mind. I'm 110% positive that we're in the midst of it. And so I just wanted to let your listeners know this is not an ego trip or anything.
Yeah. I don't get that at all from you, and I never have. And that is something that...
and you're not selling anything. You're not a website.
We're not trying to be... You haven't written your book yet?
In fact, we're encouraging you to share your story, and we're so honored that this is sort of your first coming out interview to kind of tell what happened, because your guides are instructing you that it needs to be documented, get your story out there, and the downloads that you're getting, and how to transition. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming on, and you're so articulate and well spoken and likable. It's going to be easy for you. This is going to be easy
it is.
For
this
you.
is just the beginning. But I have a question for you, and this is maybe...
I have an answer for you.
I know you do. This could be perhaps a bit of a digression, but it is... what do you say to all of the Army folks or that whole industry where people are trying to just get through the day with PTSD, and how do you go? I mean, not everyone can get a lightning bolt, the gift of that.
Yeah.
But it is, what do you say to these guys? I mean, they're just trying to live, and it just, to me, it feels so bleak because they've been just so mind-fucked. And I'm very pro-military, by the way. I mean, my family, I have such respect for these guys, and I don't always think that people know what they're really getting into, and it is, anyway, I have a whole other side of that, but I respect the guys that step up, and so, but
I get that. Yeah.
These guys that come out, I mean, what do you say? I mean, what do you think?
Well, what happens is that we're no longer operating in our area of operation or in our field of expertise, and we took that very seriously for the guys that are coming out. That's all we know. That's why you see a lot of guys going back to private contractor companies like Blackwater and Triple Canopy, DynCorp, MPRI, all these companies that are out there to hire people like us to do those kind of jobs. And we gravitate back to those jobs just like I did, because we don't know how to do anything else, basically. We're not the same person we were when we went in the military, and we're very programmed to operate in that area of expertise. So what I say to those guys is that they have to channel that energy that they have into something that's constructive and that works for them, but it's easier said than done. I basically have been out since 2000, but as soon as the war started, I went right to war again as soon as I could. Regardless of my disabilities, I found a way to go back to war because I'm sitting around waiting to die. That's basically what we're doing. And their energies that these guys have, including myself, we're so wound up. We're wound so tight. And the way that the out process is in the military is they don't do anything to unwind us. Yeah. So we don't know what to do with ourselves. So what I say to them is that channel those things that they loved doing when they weren't on duty. And I don't mean drinking and running the streets. I mean, everybody's got little talents that they love to do, whether it's in the church or hot rods or shooting. Take that skill set that you love doing off duty and put it to use so that you're doing something with your time other than drinking and sitting around in misery waiting to die. You're in pain. I understand that. Our bodies are tore up. We're not in the same military structure anymore. We don't have our teammates to help support us. So I say go out and find like-minded individuals and go back to the shooting range. Pick up a rifle and go do what you love to do. If it was driving, then go drive. If you worked on diesel vehicles, then go work on diesel vehicles. Build a hot rod. If you played music, go start a band. get involved with your church if you're into the church thing. But you have to do something other than sit around and drink and self-medicate, which is what I did for a long time. And I self-medicated pretty hard. You know, yeah, it was pretty rough. So that's what I say. And the message from our brothers and sisters on the other side, on the side, is to believe. And the analogy that I've come up with that is believing is seeing. And as soon as I began to believe, I began to see. And it's been a really amazing transition. People that knew me before don't know who I am now. I would be just like a walk-in to them in the metaphysical aspects of walk-in. I'm a flip 180 complete.
And you know, you've been told you're not a walk-in.
No, I'm not.
Still you.
No.
You've just, and I was telling you last night, I feel like you have experienced the complete spectrum of human, you know, the human experience, all the way from the war is hell to heaven on earth. And you're experiencing that, and what a brave soul to be able to take on that big of a scope and still kind of have a sane, rational mind and be able to articulate it and wander through all that. That's a huge thing here in this world.
Huge. I mean, and I really do believe that your soul contracted to experience all of this. And when you're on that side, it's like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, let's do it. Let's just mark off all these boxes, check off all these boxes. And then you get here and you're like, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
I mean, can we just sit and watch TV instead? You know, let's drink a beer. So you know, I commend you, because this has not been an easy road, I'm sure.
Well, so my eyebrows are up, and another note is that not even knowingly doing this, I went from being a meat thug to being a complete vegetarian, high vibrational foods. Didn't even know what that meant. So no drinking, no smoking, no drugs, and a vegetarian.
Wow.
So
How do you feel in your body now? How do you feel? How do you physically feel?
Oh yeah, a lot better, and the health is better. You know, I started exercising and I lost 20 pounds. You guys can see that I'm a larger than normal guy, and if you put a regular dude next to me, he's half the size. I'm 240. I'm pretty thick, and I'm a big guy, and that was just part of the process in the military and the field that I was working, is that it was all about physical fitness and being a big guy. Yeah.
How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot 240.
Yeah, you are a big guy.
Aw.
We can just
He's
see
like
the
a
little,
teddy
we just
bear.
see the little front, little top. Oh my gosh. So, gosh, I just had a question. I've just lost it. Hold on. Let me think of what it was that I had.
Do you want me to wait?
Yeah, no, go
'Cause I
ahead.
have
Go ahead.
something-
It'll jump in.
So I have, okay, so what has absolutely floored me is that there are so many things that I'm interested in and I know, but I can't talk about it with most people, even people in this realm, because it does come off a little, people start folding these little tin hats for me to put on. And
yeah, we've bypassed the conspiratorial aspects of everything that I seem to know. So
Well, and that is, I mean, if we just stick, I love, so it's wonderful to be able to talk with you about this stuff, and you're so freaking knowledgeable about it. And you teach me every time I talk to you. I mean, I sit and I take notes, because it's like, oh, I need to check on that. What is that? And I love that you went to Allison. You said, Kerry, I'd love to be on the show, but I need proof first. And most people, proof is scientific. It's coincidences that line up that you just can't dismiss.
Evidentiary.
Well, for you, it was, I need to talk to my higher self. And
right.
So how did that go?
Well, Allison Coe is a phenomenal person, and she's had a great success with hundreds and hundreds of people. But there are some people that just either not ready or can't do it. So for me, I think there was a dual purpose going up to see her, and I think the purpose was getting out away from the agoraphobic mind and actually leaving my home and traveling the distance that I had to go see her. So I was unable to go under, and I'm a control freak, and I have to be in control of my surroundings at all time for threat consciousness, and I don't think that I'll be able to go under at this time in the environment that I'm in, mindset that I'm in right now. But in another sense, I believe that I was supposed to go up there to be able to help defeat the aspect of the hermit stage. And by doing that, I immediately knew that it wasn't all about contact with my higher self and having people come through and tell me what the mission is, because all of my questions for Allison, all 50 some odd questions, I already knew. She said, you already know the answer. And I said, yeah, I know the answer to these. I just wanted somebody to verbalize it that has a position of authority as far as I'm concerned, which is them. But I know it. So it's like, okay, I already know this. Okay, I get it. I was just going to get my ass chewed by my higher self to tell me that you already know these things. Now get your ass back to work.
You're your own position of authority. Okay,
And
so I remembered my question too.
That was it. Okay.
I remembered my question, and it was your guides have been telling you about teaching, teaching your story. How does that feel? How does that look to you?
It's into a complete alignment with whatever my skill set is. Well, not whatever, but what my exact skill set is as an instructor and a master training specialist in multiple areas of curriculum development. Basically, here's the screwdriver. I need you to write a curriculum and syllabus to be able to teach this to 2-year-olds. And that's basically what part of my training is to be able to talk and teach and help understand something from its most basic level. So with that skill set in mind, and with my higher self and my spirit team telling me, hey, you're going to prepare the land to the mind for their coming return and the transition into the new earth, it's like, okay, what else do I need to know? That's obvious. It's obvious to me, absolutely obvious, that this is the beginning with you guys. That's why I thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show. You were my first like-minded group of individuals that's allowed me to speak to a community that is not going to look at me like I'm nuts, like everyone else that's left me around in my circle. They're not supposed to be there, basically. If they're gone and they're out of your life as part of the new earth transition, and they're not supposed to be there. So my skill sets are going to be transitioning now, and the fact that it is happening now is more proof that the new earth transition is in effect.
Yeah. But I
There's
also
no doubt in
believe
my mind.
everybody's getting this wave of waking up energy, and some will wake up
Massive.
before others. Some are saying they're not going.
Right.
It's a choice not to, or it's just not their time, whatever. So I think you're right there on the wave. You're riding that wave ahead to let people know when the big, I want to say big, when it becomes undeniable. And I don't know if you're talking like spaceships are like literally going to land like in the cities, or it's going to be so undeniable that our core foundational beliefs are just so rocked. You have to do something with the psyche to help it function.
That's exactly right. I think our psyches, for some folks, are so fragile, and that to let go of it, I mean, it took me years to say, okay, I embrace this. I mean, I even called her a few weeks ago, asking her, it's like, God, I mean, am I so off base believing this? Because it just resonates and it's so true, but it's so far out there. And when I try to tell someone that's not aligned with it, they really look at you like, are you freaking crazy? And which kind of makes me say, well, I don't know, maybe, possibly. And I love what you said, though. She said, why wouldn't you believe it? If you know it, you feel it.
Right. That's your discernment, right?
Well, exactly. And I think that to believe that this is red, not blue, I mean, anybody can be right. I don't know if that made sense, but it's like you pick one, you pick the other. The only reason you feel weird is that you're not picking what everybody else already thinks, or at least what they say they think. So
the programming that's in place.
And we're programmed, exactly. We've been told to say this is red. Bad example, but you know where I'm going with it.
I know where you're going with it, and Constantine put a book together for everybody to read back in 300 something or other.
The Nicene Creed, the Nicene Convention.
I don't want to. I'm not going to bang on them, but there was a certain level of control that was required, and they had to get it under control. And certain books were put in, and certain books were deleted. And lo and behold, when it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. Everything happens for a reason. Nothing is coincidence. I don't believe in that anymore. If it's supposed to happen, it will. If it ain't, it won't. That's pretty much how I go with this. The fact that the awakening is there, all you have to do is Google ringing in the ears. And I don't mean tinnitus. I mean metaphysical ringing in the ears. It's a whole different pitch. It's you can YouTube ringing in the ears. You can Yahoo ringing in the ears. It's nuts.
That's
a frequency you're
That's
hearing.
my call. So when
like,
my
ding dong,
right ear rings, and it's funny because
Julia?
Yeah, in her book she talks about that's how she actually that's how she can tell who's actually there. Is that this person will talk here, this person will talk here, and
Right.
I think that's really true, because when they want to talk to me, my right ear rings, and
Right.
it's sort of
Right.
like the call. It's like, okay, yes, what do you want me to
Right.
know? And then it starts to come in.
Like if someone were to say right now there's microwaves flying through the air, there's satellite signals bouncing off, there's internet and Wi-Fi. I can't see it, I can't perceive it, and just because I don't have the receiver to pick it up, I'm saying that it doesn't exist. I can't see it, I can't feel it, can't quantify it. But for somebody who's got the right receiver, it's a world of information that's just right. there. So I think we're all beginning to understand that now.
Well, a medium being a receiver, let's just use a medium, an evidentiary medium, somebody that actually provides real evidence without any information first, like Jamie Butler does. That was enough for me. I knew the ringing thing. I got that after a few more times with Jamie. And then to have the guides come forward and tell you straight up, oh, by the way, that's your downloads. And then to corroborate that through Googling and Yahoo and other YouTubes, that to me that's the trifecta of three things happening. There's your pattern, and it's easier to believe it that way. It's an evidentiary fact. When it happens 3 times to 3 different people around the world, and then all kinds of other people are saying this is what's happening, then come on, man.
Yeah.
How much? I don't need any more than that. Yes, eyebrows.
Jesus told me that. He said, when you get it in 3s, pay attention. And he told me 3 times, like, did you see what I just did there? And that is really true. I get things in 3s. And
Trinity, right?
The Trinity. Oh, there it is. Well,
There's so much here.
We are winding up, and we have a whole
Sure.
other section to go into that I didn't want to get started. So we will have our next show.
Would
and it'll
you
be
please
soon.
follow up with us and we'll have another series, because you have had so much training with military established organizations, and you have a whole theory now on that's different. Your outlook on all that is different now. You don't have to go all into super conspiracy theories, but there's a whole lot there, and you have a very unique perspective on it that most of us don't.
And what's coming down the pipe? You have an idea of what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I think that what I can help with also is for people that are not in the know as far as prepping and being able to, with self-sustainment and stuff like that. I'm also in that field. Being able to help people go, well, when the light, if the lights go out or we lose power, just in a regular storm or anything like that, so many people don't even know how to sanitize water to drink or to how to provide alternative power to their home, solar setups, to food storage. How do you pack food in a bucket? I mean, there's so much more, I believe, that I can help other people, and I'm being called to help. I'm absolutely being called to help. I just need a path. I need a start, and I think that's with you, beautiful ladies. And I appreciate so much allowing me to be on your show, and I'm honored to be here, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
We are too. And I want to figure out how to do that without striking fear, because anytime I've ever talked about that with people, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be Armageddon, and I need to. And I actually did go out and buy a bunch of water, and my husband's like, what are you doing? And I'm trying to sneaky, I'm going to put toilet paper away, because during the storm, during this last big storm we had, I forgot to buy toilet paper. And it was like, damn it. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm kind of a toilet paper freak. I got a garage full of it. So I found that
we'll
I know what it's like
the
to not have it.
With the toilet paper.
It's not there's nothing wrong with
I'm not saying
we don't need to prepare with a fear base.
No, I know.
But there's nothing wrong with preparedness. There's nothing wrong with when I was traveling to go see Allison, I stayed in an Airbnb, and it was in a person's home, and I shared a bedroom. Well, I didn't share it, but I had a bedroom. But when I looked around their home as far as the preparatory status of their living environment, there wasn't more than a day and a half of food. Everybody in Portland is ordering food on a daily basis.
Right.
They had no water storage. They had nothing to help them, and I don't want this as a fear base. I want this as, hey, survival. You have a family.
It's smart
You're
to do that
responsible for your
anyway.
family.
Yeah. Mitch, thank you so much. This is
Sure,
part 1. We will be contacting you back for part 2. Thank you, everybody who is joining us on JoyRide show. We really appreciate you guys coming on, and let's walk through this together. Let's all uplift, and we can do this with love and light. So thank you guys so much.
And you are awesome. Just the badass, spiritual badass.
A rainbow warrior now.
Pooping rainbows with your unicorn.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a wonderful
We'll call you
week.
later.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.